It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well, thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah. Doing.
Hope everybody's doing okay out there. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Trying to think what I did right.
Don't pull anything.
I haven't really been watching a lot other than like YouTube, but we finally did finish the Last Kingdom. During the process of filming The Last Kingdom, the author of that series wrote 2 more books. So we got an ending, but we didn't get, like, the series. So they made a movie to kind of wrap everything up and, finish those 2 books off. So we finally got around to watching that. It was pretty good. I don't think that, I can't remember the guy's name, something Drummond, the guy who plays Uthred in that. I don't know how they made this whole span of time and he didn't age like one bit. Even at the end when his kids are like all grown up and kings and stuff, he still looks like he's 20. So I always thought that was kind of weird. But it did do a good job of
especially in the Dark Ages.
Right.
When people only lived to be 35 in the first place.
Yeah, he's always got the fresh haircut and, clean. But it was pretty good. I didn't think I'd like the ending when it was happening, but then when it was finally over, it was like, okay, I won't spoil it, but it was the ending I preferred if they were going to do it that way. So I think they did really good. I think the characters all got a very good wrap up and got what they deserved,
As the case may be.
Yeah. And it was pretty neat because, since season 1, he's been trying to get his land back of Babenberg. And, no spoilers or anything else, but at the end of this, that, with the 7 kings, of course, they all come, and it's a major conflict and war. But, at the end, they kind of pan out and they show you that Babenberg is, like, still a real place. And out of all of these, forts and everything else that people had set up, Babenberg is really one of the only ones that still stands today. So I was like, that's pretty cool, especially the story that he told around it, which is probably why he did, piece of history there with kind of a no clear what he was, But yeah, like I said, if you're into that kind of thing, I thought they did really well of telling the story without like stomping all over history, because they are adding someone who wasn't there. And I thought they did a really nice job of adding him in, but still making the events take place that were major for England to become England, So, well done. I really like the actor. I'm excited to see what he's going to do after this. So, we'll see. Yeah, I like him so much, I can't even remember his name right now.
That big an impression, eh?
Right. Like I say, if I wasn't thinking about it, I would know his name like right off the bat.
Or if he would wear a name tag during the show. That
Right.
would be great.
That would
too.
help.
They need to. Well, because a lot of them have like weird names, like Ethelwyn, and then not only Ethelwyn, you've got Elfworld, and it's kind of like maybe just the ending's a little different, but it's a whole different person. So it's like, God bless.
Oh, you're lucky they didn't
I'm
go into the fact that
awful
they
with
used to
names.
repeat names constantly too. Because
Yes.
you'd have like 14 kids in a lifetime, and you'd name 4 of them Ethelred.
Yeah. It's like, jeez. They did need name tags. Yeah, and his name is Alexander Draymond.
I'm glad he wasn't George.
Right.
Name his 4 kids George.
Oh, that's where
Well,
you're
in
going
this
with
one,
that, yeah.
he is Uthred, son of Uthred, and I thought it was funny because in one part of this he lost his sword, and it was like, and this thing's been since season 1, with him and everything, had a good story behind it. So when they were trying to get him another sword, he's like, well, you could name it Uthred's or Sword of Uthred's. But it was kind of funny the way that they played on, Uthred, son of Uthred. And it was kind of the laugh you needed at that point to break up what was going on. But yeah, like I said, it's really good if you like time period pieces like that. It's really good. Some parts, just to get history laid down, kind of gets a little slow sometimes and hard to watch. But it does always pick back up, and
Just like history.
you're like, right. And then once you're there, it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is why they just spent 30 minutes telling us this shit.
Mm-hmm.
This is important. I didn't know a lot about the Danes, so that was kind of interesting seeing how they were, and not very likable people, but depending on which side you were on, I guess.
They were kind of squatters for the first century,
Yeah,
And,
but weren't we all?
right. Well,
You
that's hard to say in this country, but yeah,
yeah.
we absolutely, almost all of us were. But it actually
Especially back then,
is a lot more
before
true in other
lines
places.
were actually drawn.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot more true in other places than we actually want to think. It's just that with us, it was a lot more recently.
Right. So it was kind of cool seeing how England came together like that too. And how much of their history still plays a big part in what they do today. Which is kind of interesting too. So yeah, if you like that, like I said, it's pretty cool. You do get the story, like I said, without changing history, which is always nice. So, but since the movie has come out, if you wind up watching this and you like it, I believe it's the History Channel has actually gone into like in depth with the series and the movie and shows you like actual battlefields and who the real people were and who they think might have been someone like Uthred, but wasn't, the badass that he was in this show, of course, But so that's kind of neat too. So if you like it, there's more out there of it and a lot to dig into.
Mm-hmm. Funny how you happen to be talking about a show so heavy into British history when we just recently had British history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The first
Maybe that's
coronation
what.
in 70 friggin' years.
Yeah.
I don't think Charles is going to last as long as his mom did.
I don't think so either. Normally when Princess Diana and Charles got married, it was all over TV. And I remember at work, everybody was watching, and it was just interesting. This coronation was kind of like, how long are you tying up my news channel? He just doesn't have the charisma it takes to rule a country, You can't have your nose up at half the people.
He's Yeah, he's not necessarily the most likable guy, but
Mm,
also he's not really running the country anyway, so it's fine.
right. Yep.
And like I said, if he lasts 20 years, he'll be doing good.
Yeah.
I mean, both his parents lived into their 90s, so, he's got a good pedigree in that regard. So, but he's
Yeah.
also in his 70s already, so.
They got a late start.
hmm
And really big shoes to fill.
Metaphorically speaking, yes.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what size her feet really were, but also I don't know if Charles can pull off the heels, but,
Yep.
that's not our problem.
Maybe the dress.
I feel we're losing focus here.
Focus? What's that? Or is that just your way of telling me to get on with it?
No, no.
Girl.
I think we're just straying to areas I'm really not comfortable with.
Not a monarchy guy, huh? Good to know. That's okay, because my thing for this week has nothing to do with monarchy. I mean, there's a way I could stretch it, but I'll let y'all figure it out. Um, Given the short week, I'm a little surprised I actually managed to squeeze in a movie. Um, by short week, we recorded late last week. Um, and I don't know, I was looking for something different. And for some reason, this popped up on Tubi. Well, not surprisingly, this popped up on Tubi. Because it's just exactly the kind of movie that makes Tubi Tubi. I watched The Tingler
Woohoo!
from 1959,
Really?
starring Vincent Price. Yeah, and I don't think I have. If I saw this, it was decades ago, and I did not remember any of it. I mean, I've heard of it. I know what it is. I've heard a lot of the stuff around it, but I don't think I'd ever actually sat and watched the whole thing until the other day. Um, but I thought it was pretty fun. I liked it. It is the story of a doctor, a medical examiner, I guess, played by Vincent Price, who is researching essentially fear and death. Very, very chipper stuff. But so he's formed this theory that there is actually something inside us that physically manifests. And it ends up that through just him talking to people and explaining it like 2 or 3 times, the name that gets associated with this thing is the Tingler, obviously. I mean, big shock. And so the whole idea is that if you get scared and you don't scream, this thing builds up in your spine and the theory is that it can just crush your spine and kill you. And the way they test this out is under very suspicious circumstances. A local deaf-mute woman is frightened to death. And so the doc, Warren, gets hold of her body almost immediately and surgically removes this thing from her spine. And I don't know, it's about 2 feet long, maybe a little longer. And it basically looks like it kind of looks like a model of a spine made out of rubber. Except it's kind of a cross between a human spine, and like a centipede. And it's apparently extremely strong, and the only thing that can stop it is screaming. And there is this movie. I mean, they eventually end up and he ends up coming up with the theory. He realizes that a bunch of stuff has happened that makes all of this scientific research very suspect. So he decides they got to kill this thing. And the way they figure out, the only way they can think of to kill it is to put it back in the corpse. It never really explains if that worked or not in the movie, but anyway. So that's what ends up happening, and there is a whole the thing I found most interesting about this movie. I mean, that story alone is fun. Obviously not super scientific, realistically, but fun. There's a lot of uncharacteristically immoral behavior happening in this movie. Given that it's made in 1959, I mean, like Warren's wife is like blatantly cheating on him with half the town. And
Yeah.
he's, I don't know, oddly friendly with her little sister, who's also dating his assistant, played by Daryl Hickman, by the way, who's Dwayne Hickman's older brother. Dwayne Hickman was Dobie Gillis, and he was in the what's it, Dr. Goldfoot movies? Am I remembering that right? Is this thing on?
Yeah, it's
No,
on.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
him and Frankie Avalon, right? I don't know.
Yeah, Frankie Avalon is correct.
Yeah, that part was right anyway. But yeah. So that was weird because he actually looks and sounds a lot like his little brother, but so it was a little distracting at times. But yeah, so it's just this very kind of oddly disturbing 1950s movie, and so much so that the horror part of the movie is actually not quite as disturbing as the kind of amorality of the whole thing. It's interesting. I mean, give William Castle credit. He knew how to make a spectacle. Speaking of the spectacle, this was the one where they allegedly put buzzers in the seats in the theaters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
To make it go tingle tingle and make people scream. And he planted screamers in the audience too, and just had a good old time with this movie. It was quite a deal back in the day. But yeah, it's actually kind of fun to watch too. So even without the buzzers in the seats and all that.
Yeah.
It was better than I thought it was going to be.
I like anything with Vincent Price in it, though. But I do like this one.
Yep, he's pretty good, that guy.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm with you. The Tingler thing looked weird. Just weird. They
did a good job of hiding whatever fishing line or whatever they used to drag it along the carpet. I mean, I'll give them credit for that. It looked good. The bathtub thing was funny, too. Holy cow. The only color in the movie is the blood in the bathtub.
Yeah. It made an impact, though.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. And the other fun part about this movie is the use of LSD in the movie. I mean, I'm sure they were pretending and all,
use
but
it to calm her down or something.
That was what he said he was doing. He said he was giving her a sedative. But this is okay. And in all fairness, this is after he tested this stuff on himself. So
yeah,
you know, it was
calm
very.
You down. I'm gonna inject you with LSD, man.
Right. I'm gonna not okay. Yeah, at 11 o'clock at night, I'm gonna inject myself with LSD. A couple of hours later, I'm gonna show up at this guy's house because hey, I'm a doctor. Why not?
Right.
There's no way I'm possibly still flying on this stuff. And inject your wife with something that they're really not very clear on, especially when what happens after happens. And yeah, it's very misleading up in that point, which is kind of part of the fun, I think. Because did he inject her with LSD or not? It's hard to tell. I mean,
Slipped her a Mickey.
one way or another, somebody slipped her a damn Mickey. Whether it was
Something.
Warren or Ollie, it's hard to tell which. But yeah, it's like I said, it's morally ambiguous, morally ambiguous to say the least. But yeah, it's fun in a fun way. It's not happening to me sort of way.
Right.
What was the movie that was kind of a tribute to Castle with John Goodman, where he played the director, was coming to town, in Florida, and he had made a movie that, let me get this straight, it was a horror movie similar to what Castle would have made, about a man who is transformed into an ant. Not an uncle, but an ant.
Oh.
And the movie was called Mant. I wish I could remember. I'm sorry?
Matinee.
Matinee, thank you. When Matinee came out, I went to see it because I am a Castle fan. And I sat through 2 showings of it because it was that much fun. It was that much remembrance. So, yeah. William Castle made some great movies like that.
Matinee was made by Joe Dante, so
Yeah.
that kind of makes sense. I could see him being a big Castle fan.
Mm-hmm.
Little influence there, yeah.
Cool.
I'm glad you got to watch it because that is a good, fun movie.
Have to check out Matinee now too.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that. Oh, I love this bit of trivia. You talk about the movie Mant. The cast in the movie within the movie included Kevin McCarthy, Robert Cornthwaite, and William Shallert.
Mm-hmm.
All actors from 50s sci-fi movies.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, Robert Cornthwaite. I couldn't remember the name. He was the scientist. He was Dr. Carrington in Thing from Another World.
Ah. Oh, speaking of Thing from Another World, it's on Tubi now.
Woohoo! And then William Shallert. Oh, God, he's best known for the Patty Duke Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was in a lot of
Oh, he was in a lot of
sci-fi
stuff.
movies back then too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Between that and then Star Trek episode Trouble with Tribbles.
Yep.
Mr. Barris.
The uptight administrator.
Mm-hmm. So, cool. You need to watch just for that little thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else, Mikey?
That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like you said, it was a short week, so. Alrighty. How about you, Les?
I was out and about, and I will say I went to see the Guardians 3 movie. I'm going to say that surprised me. It's more entertaining than I thought because they did not rely on jokes. There was an actual story in this one. So they weren't popping funnies through the whole movie. To me, this may have been the best of the three because it had a story, had something viable. So, not being a big Marvel fan, yeah, this one was entertaining. It was enjoyable. I'm not going to say it pulled Marvel out of the wretched crap that they issued before, but this was fun. This was one of those that you enjoyed. You liked the people. It wasn't just hi, we're here and we're going to be goofy. So,
Cool.
thumbs up.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay. For me, not a whole heck of a lot. I've been kind of on a kick recently where watching a lot of Gunsmoke. It was the show I didn't really watch when I was younger, and even when I was kind of in the whole Western phase, I didn't really watch the show, but I've been kind of doing it now, and it's kind of amazing how the show has kind of changed over the years, because it was originally black and white in 30 minutes, and then eventually became an hour, and late in its run is when it actually became color. That's kind of interesting that it took so long. One thing I'm very passionate about on this show, I hate Festus.
Ouch.
He is the most irritating character. God, Urkel's better than him.
Oh,
Ooh.
damn. Shots fired.
Right.
And the thing is it's like they try to do a little bit more comic relief, and then later on, they try to be a little bit more serious with the character and all that. And it's like it still doesn't do anything because he's still irritating. It's like I really wish they kept Chester around. But hey, that's Dennis Weaver. He had other things he needed to be doing. So I like Chester. I really wished Burt Reynolds had stayed on there a little bit longer, although he was there for quite a bit. But he was thinking about his own career, So I don't blame him for that. But I like Quint. Of course, you got Doc and Kitty and all that. So it's been good. It's been kind of interesting watching so many shows. So
Cool.
I like that.
I mean, I just saw one just prior toward recording. It's funny how the show was around for 20 years. So I know there's a lot of the episodes I've not seen, but I know for the fact the episode prior toward recording I've seen for like the third time. And it's the one where Festus and Quint have to go to Wichita because Festus and his ultimate stupidity, I forgot what he destroyed in Quint's shop. So they had to actually go to Wichita, and then we were saying it was going to take about 2 weeks, and then it's just their adventures on the road and all that, and you're just like, oh God. Yeah. Props to Quint for not killing the bastard, although he was very tempted several times.
Oh, but were they good buddies at the end?
No, not really.
Okay, because that would have been
Because,
really trite.
no, because spoiler at the end of the episode, Festus busts the brand new part, so they got to go back to Wichita again. That's how the episode ends.
uh,
Yeah, yeah, this was a little bit more formulaic than most stories, so I gave it a little bit of a pass. Because that's the other thing. Because I'm watching some of these and I'm like, these. I mean, you can see how it's going to be telegraphed 20 minutes away, or 15 or 10, but I'm not really seeing that with Gunsmoke, or at least I'm not seeing it, which is good.
yeah, I'm a little surprised even. I would have thought it would have. I mean, because this is kind of where some of those formulas would have come from, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, but there was how many westerns were on during this time?
Well,
I mean,
yeah, a lot.
a lot. So
Who was the guest star?
if there was one, I didn't recognize them. That's the other thing, because I've been watching these on the channel. INSP was formerly Inspire or Inspiration. Now it's INSP, which is kind of interesting there, because if you the channel before had a lot of inspirational stuff, surprise, but it also did a lot, it showed a lot of westerns, especially like on Saturdays and Sundays. And it seems what they decided to do, I guess because it was so popular, is they rebranded themselves to INSP, and that's all they do. It's all westerns. It is all westerns. A lot of Gunsmoke. The Cheyenne, which is funny. The Cheyenne Show, starring a character named Cheyenne. Like, why is it called the Cheyenne Show? Why is it not just Cheyenne? But okay. Laramie, the Big Valley, Tales from Wells Fargo. That one, I'm still not sure what I think about that one. There's good and bad episodes on that one, but it's kind of interesting. Wagon Train. I hadn't done a lot of research on that, but boy, there's a lot of cast changes.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, it's like you can watch one episode where is it Bill McIntyre and then Robert Fuller, and then the next episode's Ward Bond and someone I can't remember the name. I'm not sure how long the show was on, but they kind of mix it up, so you don't know. You're not sure exactly who you're going to get until the show starts, which is, I'm not complaining. It's kind of interesting.
John McIntyre?
John McIntyre, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. A veteran actor. It's been around forever.
Oh, God. Well, yeah, probably most in our audience might remember him from Psycho. He was the sheriff.
There you go.
Yeah.
Called out to the hotel to talk to Norman and all that, and gave us the story about Norman's mother and all. So probably where a lot of people might know him from, but he was everywhere. Yeah. So
cool.
All right. Before we get into this week's discussion, do you like to point out that we have a Discord? That y'all are more than welcome to come join us. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, stuff to laugh at, videos, music. We'll have some fun activities on there. Sign up is free. You can get the app on any app store. And we do have open invitation on our homepage, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. So if you want to hang out with us, there's at least one or two of us on at any time. A lot of the times there's three of us, so come join us if you want.
Yeah,
You'll enjoy it.
we have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just
Are
leave
you
that.
changing your oil?
We're
What the hell
having an
is going
especially
on?
good time when Liz knocks over her mic stand. But anyway,
Just leave that in.
You even knew what happened. huh?
Just leave that in.
it had that mic stand sound to it, you know.
Hit the wrong thing.
no, no shit, really, the wrong thing.
What was your first clue? This week's discussion is going to be kind of interesting and fun because this is actually something I was not aware of until I don't remember how I came across it, but within the last few months, this is a lawsuit from 40 years ago, and it's involving Warner Brothers, who was suing ABC, and the reason for the suit is Warner Brothers felt that the show The Greatest American Hero was a copyright infringement of Superman. Now, reading a little bit about this, this is the third lawsuit that I'm going to say DC Comics because it wasn't Warner Brothers with the original suit that has done a suit like this. The first two, they were very successful. The one that most people who are in comics probably are aware of the situation was Superman versus Captain Marvel or Shazam back in the late 30s, 40s. The one I was not aware of was Superman versus Wonder Man. And I just found out about this, so I'm gonna have to do some research about this lawsuit because I'm not sure where this is coming from. But today we're gonna talk about the one involving ABC. And if you're familiar with the show, The Greatest American Hero, it's evolving character. Can't remember his name right now.
Ralph Hinckley.
Ralph Hinckley, who was a teacher, was had an experience with aliens who gave him a suit and a book, and the suit gave him superpowers. But he lost the book, so he was never able to truly control his powers. So, based off the fact that, well, he's wearing a superhero suit, he can fly, he has strength, super strength, and this, that. This is exactly a ripoff of Superman. So let's get into this lawsuit and give our thoughts about this.
I didn't know about this either until it was scheduled. I did think it was strange as a kid that I remember watching it and I remember really enjoying it, and then it just kind of disappeared, you know. I see now why it did. Not that they, not that Warner Brothers won. Yeah. I think at that point they were just kind of tired of dealing with it because Warner Brothers didn't take the first no. I think it went all the way to the third applet before it was finally like, no, it's not Superman. Kids are not stupid.
Yeah, they kept appealing. They never liked the ruling they got, and so they kept appealing, and eventually they got shut down. Like, stop.
Yeah. This is crazy. But I think for ABC at that point, then it was like, this is costing us too much money, even if it was the most successful show that they had at that point, it's costing us too much money. Because I don't know if they thought they were going to quit, like you said, they'd get no and they'd turn around and take it to a different court, and it would be different if there was a lot of similarities between the two. But other than being flying, I don't know,
Right.
bulletproof.
Flying and super strength.
Yeah.
There's
could
no
be any
similarity
superhero.
at all between the characters. They're white guys.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I always thought he was a better cross between MacGyver and Richard Simmons. Not Superman, but
wow, you really were 4 years old when you watched this, weren't you?
I was, yes.
I'm ready for this explanation.
I don't think you're going to get one, man.
Yeah, just at that point, in what year was this? In the 80s? I think it was popular to perm your hair. And didn't he have like really curly dyed hair?
He did.
He still does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dude's still around.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, he was kind of goofy because he couldn't control his powers and stuff, but he was very resourceful, kind of like MacGyver. So.
Right. He has found ways to get around his inability to work the suit properly.
Yeah,
as I recall.
he did.
I haven't watched this show since it was on, so. But I do remember watching it as a kid. So, yeah, I remember he used to sort of squeak by.
I think my sister said she watched it not too long ago on one of the, lesser heard of streaming services. Let me see if I can find it.
What one does ABC put their old stuff on?
It's on Tubi.
Really?
Actually, it's on quite a bit. It's on Tubi, it's on Pluto, it's on Sling, it's on Roku, Crackle, Fubu, Peacock. So yeah, you can watch this just about anywhere.
Was it 2 or 3 seasons that it ran, or did it just last the one? I don't remember.
There's more than one.
I thought it was, but I don't know how many.
Yeah, it went from March 18th of 81 to February 3rd of 83. So probably 2.
So that's probably 2 seasons, yeah.
Yeah.
3 seasons.
Yeah, 3 seasons.
Really? Okay. Cool.
But yeah, I definitely think that Warner Brothers jumped the gun on this one. Other than being superheroes that, I don't know, yeah. It'd be different if he was like an alien from a different planet like Superman is, but he wasn't. Just an average Joe Schmo,
Right, and every man.
Yeah.
Yep. I think Warner Brothers might have gotten up their own ass with this one a little bit. Because when they had tried these stupid lawsuits in the past, they have won a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was the one that they got lectured a little bit because of the concept of parody, but because it was actually making fun. It wasn't making fun of Superman. It was just making fun of. Kind of making fun of superheroes in general, but.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think they took that into consideration.
Mm-mm.
They had been successful before in shutting down, like you said, It was Wonder Man in the 1940.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
Go ahead.
See, I'd be curious about those, though. Did they get them shut down, or was it just a smaller guy who couldn't fight him?
Yes.
It was probably mostly a smaller guy who couldn't fight him.
Yeah. So they didn't win because they were right. They won because they had more money than they did.
Now, I think the deal, and I have not seen the Wonder Man stuff, but I think the deal is that they were a lot more similar.
Okay.
Whether one was actually ripping off the other or not, I couldn't tell you, but it was at least a lot more plausible, which is why they won.
Yeah.
And the other one was the whole Captain Marvel thing.
Right.
Before,
Yeah.
Before they bought out the rights to Captain Marvel, they sued Fawcett.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was basically the lawsuit that basically bankrupt Fawcett.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
They did.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that with Fawcett, they purchased the character, and that more or less solved it. So they didn't win anything there.
Right, and Fawcett basically stopped selling superhero comics because of all of this.
Yeah.
Which ended up driving them into the ground, basically.
Which is it's so funny about that whole thing. And it's a little bit of a sidetrack, so I'll already go ahead and give you that.
There's a whole bunch of sidetracks in this thing, so yeah.
Oh, I know. But but when the Captain Marvel stories were stopped publishing here in America, they were also being published over in England. So once that stopped, they were going, oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And they basically did a copy of Captain Marvel, but they called him Marvel Man. That's how Marvel Man came about.
Yeah.
Because you had Marvel Man, you had Kid Marvel Man, and I think you had Marvel Man Jr. So that's basically Captain Marvel Jr. and Mary. I mean, and if you read the old stuff from the 50s, it's literally they just, it's literally the same thing. They just changed it up. Instead of him saying Shazam, he says K-Moda, which is atomic spelled backwards, but instead of a C, it's a K. And then their versions of Dr. Sylvana and all the other characters, all the villains. So, which is funny now because Marvel Man is owned by Marvel. Although they're still calling him Miracle Man.
Right.
So,
go
ahead.
Another funny story.
Mm-hmm.
That initial decision came down in 1951 with the whole, basically, National Comics publications winning their lawsuit against Fawcett. Or was that the other way around? I forget now. Sorry, I distracted myself. In 1953, Mad Magazine published a story in which was called Super Duper Man, in which the aforenamed Super Duper Man battled a character called Captain Marbles. This story ends in the defeat of Captain Marbles. Apparently, I have not read this, but it apparently does not directly reference the lawsuit in any way. But damn.
Yeah.
That is ballsy. Credit to Mad Magazine in the 50s.
Mm. Who's now owned by Warner Brothers.
Uh-huh. Funny story, that, isn't it?
Mm.
Who got the last laugh there?
When I first heard about this and started looking into it, like you said, Mike, they're full of themselves. It's just like, it doesn't make sense. You look at the two characters, you look at the premise of the stories, and you're just like, they're not even remotely similar. I mean, other than the suits and the powers, and they have secret identities. That's about it. How is that any different from all the characters that Warner Brothers owns, the superheroes that they own? It's kind of the same thing. You know?
Right, and it ends up looking like the only reason that they're different is because somebody else owns the greatest American hero, Ralph Hinkley, and not Warner Brothers. And so Warner Brothers wants to fix that, and they can't actually stop ABC from doing what they're doing. So screw it, we'll just sue their pants off and get the money that way. And not really.
Yeah.
Not this time, boys.
But I can see the idea for the lawsuit. As frivolous as it was, I understand why DC was going at it. And to me, it was because, granted, it was a parody, but DC had established something, had taken decades to establish something. And granted, anybody and everybody can tear it down, but after spending that much time, I would be pissed off too.
Yeah.
To have somebody just say, well, we're doing this comedy now. And personally, I didn't think it was all that funny, but I could see why DC reacted like they did.
Yeah, but it's not like this is the first time somebody had parodied Superman.
No. Like you said, the Mad Magazine did it back in the 50s.
Well, shit.
Well,
Warner
Marvel
Brothers
did it
themselves did it before they owned DC. There's at least one Bugs Bunny cartoon and at least one Daffy Duck cartoon that are clearly and blatantly ripping off Superman.
Yeah.
That would have been in the 40s.
With the carrots. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Stupor Duck.
Super Duck. Yeah.
I mean, so it's not like they didn't know what parody was, unless they'd forgotten since, like I said, the late 40s. They decided that since Warner Brothers bought DC in 1967, that it was okay that Warner Brothers had ripped them off, but for ABC to do it was a bridge too far. I mean, come on. It just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems I can 100% see the concept of this lawsuit coming up in a meeting somewhere in the Warner Brothers offices, but I'm finding it hard to believe that it didn't get shut down at that stage. I find it hard to believe that somebody in that office didn't say, but it's just a parody. I don't know.
They may have.
You're entirely right.
Yet that guy was cleaning out his desk in 20 minutes, too.
Right.
Potentially, yeah.
Like, parody this.
Or at least very much being smacked down. Like,
Yeah.
No, we don't care. Do it anyway.
With the excuses they gave the court. Well, kids.
Yeah, we're going to confuse the children.
Yeah.
I seem to recall this show being on at night.
Mm-hmm.
It was. But it was like in a block. I can't quite remember the night, but it was like Greatest American Hero in either Buck Rogers or The $1 Million Man. So it was kind of like set up with other
Like a sci-fi Saturday
sci-fi
night thing?
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember if it was which night it was on either, but
And the Bionic Woman. Those four, they played them in twos, but I can't remember what was paired with what.
right. Like I said, there
Well,
was 4 at the time.
Yeah.
well,
Well, and you had
this,
the Hulk, but I don't think that was
I
ABC.
think that was a different network, yeah.
that was
Yeah.
CBS.
Yeah.
What were the other two you mentioned?
Bionic Man
Yeah,
and
$6 million
Million
man.
Dollar Woman,
$6 million
or
man and Bionic Woman.
yeah,
Were those
and
ABC?
Yes, I believe so.
yeah, I think that was their sci-fi run.
But those were all on different nights.
Sci-fi was popular back then.
Were they?
Yeah, because
I thought they did a 2 and 2 kind of thing.
I don't think so.
I'm trying to look into that right now.
Yeah, the scary thing is that there are places on the internet that will show you television schedules from back then.
That's cool.
Not surprising, just scary.
Yeah, that's surprising.
I seem to recall we got lost in that one night
Mm-hmm.
a few months back, semi-randomly. If we're not careful, we'll do it again tonight. But anyway.
So hang on to your hats.
Mm-hmm. Your early 1980s hats, which covered up your perm. Then your shoulder pads.
With your
Neon
neon
colors.
Mermaids. Yeah.
Mhm.
And your jellies. Don't forget the jellies.
Oh, can't forget the jellies. Hell no. Jellies are important.
Yeah. Almost as important as your pogs.
Your members only jacket.
Okay. In 1981-82 season, Greatest American Hero was on Wednesday nights, 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern, followed by The Fall Guy,
Ah.
and then Dynasty.
See, here you go, Liz. Fall Guy starred Lee Majors, who was also $6 million man.
Man. So there you go.
Okay.
There's your
So
connection.
you're kind of correct.
There's my
you were
connection.
close. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Yep. It's amazing what happens when you get enough money involved. For good or for ill.
Yeah.
Though honestly, to an extent, I'm actually guessing that this didn't have anything to do with money.
No.
They were probably annoyed that ABC was going to make money off of it, but honestly, they started formulating the lawsuit before the show even aired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looked like so.
Well, the other day we were talking, and this is something that's happened before, not just with Superman, but what was that? Once Upon a Time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a direct ripoff. In fact, that was the whole basis for Fables. And why DC didn't pursue that, I don't know. I think the rumor was somebody came to, that was ABC also,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and said, I've got this idea for a story, and they accepted it. But this was a story that was presented several months earlier by DC, and they said, no, we don't like that. We don't want it. But ABC decided when somebody else pitched it that it was a good idea.
Well, and ABC being Disney, didn't they own most of those characters, though?
What characters?
Beauty and the Beast, Rapunzel. God, I can't.
I don't think that Disney owned ABC at that time.
Okay.
I also think that those characters probably had been in the public domain for a long enough time that it didn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So.
True. I forget about that sometimes.
And kind of go back to Les's story. It was Bill Willingham who actually went to the studios to go, hey, I've got this story of Fables. Anybody interested in? No. Then all of a sudden you got Once Upon a Time. Then you've got some of the other ones that came. What was it? There's like 2 or 3 of them that came out pretty soon after that. So,
I'm wanting to say like the first one they did was like Alice in Wonderland. And they did the whole complete story. And then I think that's when they pitched for the Once Upon a Time where they could add more people in and it not just be an Alice in Wonderland kind of thing. But I could totally be wrong on that. They've spun Alice so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched them all, but it's always different.
Yeah, and apparently it was the whole plagiarism issue with Once Upon a Time had more to do with the fans raising hell than Bill Willingham. He apparently thought it was fine. He was like, it was not really that much of an original thing to begin with. I mean, it's been a common theme anyway in media forever. So, I mean, to say that they ripped me off would be like saying that I ripped off Hans Christian Andersen or something like that. I'm clearly paraphrasing here, but
well, a lot of their stories do come from other stories,
sure.
That they've borrowed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Are you talking about the TV series, or are you talking about Fables? They're 2 totally different aspects.
Well, like a lot of Disney stuff comes from like Hans Christian Andersen and Grimm. I think like Elsa, the newest Frozen one, that story's totally different than the one they borrowed it from. But she's not a Disney original. The story now that they have for her is a Disney original, but the original story, she was a bitch and like killed almost everybody that came across, but can't do that in Disney. So Pocahontas, same thing, that she's not an original story from them. I believe Snow White and Cinderella are originals to them.
Oh no.
No.
Not at all.
No?
Not even close.
Okay.
Snow White, no.
Cinderella's not either.
No.
Yeah.
Those are basically fairy tales as well.
Yeah. So they've been known to borrow quite a bit then.
Oh yeah. No doubt about it. But that's a lot of what happens. That's what makes them fairy tales to some extent, is they're these iconic stories that have been passed down for centuries at this point.
Yeah.
And certain people have done the work to collect those stories, and there's kind of no reason not to keep retelling them because they're iconic stories. That's kind of the deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
Disney just happened to do it differently by making animated movies out of them, which was kind of unheard of at the time.
And for kids, it's for kids.
They did toned down some of the violence in them, yes.
Yeah, they did. Cleaned it up for families.
I wouldn't necessarily assume that they did it for children, but they did tone down the violence.
Yeah.
Had some of the racier adult themes.
Yeah.
I think people want to think they did it for kids, but I think they did it more for what was the standard American audience at the time, more than anything else.
Well, and I think they did do it for families, you know, especially during that time. If you wanted to market something, you market it to the family. It's something you can do together and, you know. Even back then, enjoy a classic with your kids.
Yeah, when did Snow White come out?
Like 39.
Was it like 40s?
So, before the baby boom.
Yeah, I mean, she was the first
37.
princess. 37. Damn.
So before the baby boom, which is when all that family shit started.
Mm-hmm. Well, because they were spending so much time together.
10 years later.
Yeah.
Not in 1937.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will digress. Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Greatest American hero.
Not a smart move.
A Disney train. Yeah,
Not a
I don't
smart
think
move for who?
for Warner Brothers. I think when it first came out, they probably went, and that's where it should have stopped. You know, giving it a chance, because like y'all said, it seemed like they sued before before it even hit TV.
Right, and it likely wasn't good for the reputation of the show, even though they had nothing to do with all of that.
Right, because once you put it out there, you can't take it back, you know.
Right. Yeah.
People had already made their minds up about it
right.
at that point.
People hear the first thing that gets said, and the first thing that got said was Warner Brothers saying, "Hey, you're ripping off our character."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So whether you consider it a good show or not, it kind of doomed it.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks, because it had the potential to be a good show.
When you had to add legal fees in to your production costs. So it was just, I could see it being just not enough, especially back then, you know, just not enough.
Yep. It's pretty rough.
Yep.
Not cool, Warner Brothers. Not cool.
I liked it. It was cute, you know. I was, 5, 6? It was cool. It was entertaining.
I hadn't watched.
Theme song, you know.
I hadn't watched. Yeah.
The theme song was a big hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it in forever, so when it was originally on, so I can't say. Yeah, I mean, I remember liking it back then, but
we were kids.
Yeah.
So.
We didn't know any better.
I haven't watched it since then, so it'd probably be something I'd watch now and be like, what the hell was I thinking? But, you know, as a kid, it was pretty damn cool. We didn't have a lot of stuff like that, you know.
Well, you're talking about the time of 3 networks. That was about it. You know?
Yeah.
This was pre-Fox, yeah.
And most of the good stuff, you had to wait for Sunday night for movie special, you know. So it was pretty cool to have nerd TV.
Before we even knew what nerds were. Jeez.
Right.
That's how they promoted it, too. Nerd TV for you.
Nerd TV, wow.
You know what? I think that's a good point, though. Just We're going to take a break now.
Oh, sure.
All right. We are going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back with Geek News for You. And we're back. It is time for Geek News for You. And in this segment, we bring a couple of news items to the table for discussion. This week, it is Liz and myself. And Liz, would you like to go first?
Sure. This article that I'm sharing tonight, we've actually talked about it quite a bit, and it was always brought up, then something would happen, and then brought up again, and yeah, but finally, out of production hell, Beetlejuice 2 is finally hitting, what do they call it, filming when they first start. Lots of good actors that they've added. This one here, they're saying that William Dafoe actually is coming to Beetlejuice 2. And what I thought, it's cool he's coming, but they kind of gave us a little bit more insight of what the movie's going to be about. I had originally thought with Beetlejuice 2, it would kind of follow Lydia. She was kind of, other than Beetlejuice, she was kind of the star of the show, and it was, centered around her and everything else. But no, it actually sounds like this will center around Beetlejuice and his life in the afterlife. William Dafoe will actually be a cop in the afterlife. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But in this link that I'm sure will be added to the show notes, they've linked quite a few different articles about this. And one of them also says that Beetlejuice 2 can finally redeem its title character, which is Beetlejuice. I thought they kind of did that with the cartoon that they did for a while. I don't know how many people are big Beetlejuice fans or anything else, but
not as much as you.
Right. They did have a cartoon for a while, and him and Lydia were actually friends. I think it kind of took place in both worlds, so that was it was balanced out. So I can see maybe from the movie how they'd want to redeem him from that, but in my eyes, he had already been redeemed. So, but it will be kind of neat to see a little bit more in what makes Beetlejuice tick. So I'm excited about this. I'm glad that they finally, not only is it just a thought, it's actually happening now. Tim Burton's on board. Michael Keaton's on board. I think Catherine O'Hare's coming back. Winona Ryder's coming back. So, Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis. So it's definitely going to be star-studded. I'm very excited for this one. I may actually go to the movies and see this one.
See, your excitement is contagious, but there's one thing that you mentioned that scares the crap out of me.
What's that?
Willem Dafoe as a policeman in the afterlife. Now, is this Beetlejuice 2 or is this R.I.P.D. 2?
It's Beetlejuice.
Be R.I.P.D. 3 then. They've already done 2.
Oh, did they do a second one?
Yeah.
Dear Lord. I had no idea.
With Jeffrey... what's his name? I can't think of his name.
What else was he in?
What was the one where he was a spy? Not Blacklisted, but it's one that he did with, yeah, him too.
Yeah.
Well, who's it called it?
What's his name?
Bob.
The guy that was in that thing that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Him.
Dang it.
So essentially, the original cast is back, except for Jeffrey Jones, which, for obvious reasons, his career is over with.
And as far as the plot, Liz, what'd you say was going to go on?
It sounds like it follows Beetlejuice in his afterlife more. They've got a wife, and looks like he'll have a kid even.
I thought it was... Oh, go ahead.
I'm thinking with the introduction of William Dafoe as a cop, it'll kind of be, I don't know, trying to put Beetlejuice maybe back in the afterlife. You know, like a time chaser or something, you know. Can't have them hopping from both worlds. But I don't know. That's just an assumption. I don't know why they'd put a cop in Beetlejuice. We'll find out.
Isn't this one with Jenna Ortega also?
Yep.
There has been talk of that, but I don't think that's been confirmed. I think it was kind of everybody wanted her to play Lydia's daughter, you know,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they've actually confirmed that. Just kind of a want that. Which I haven't seen Wednesday yet, so I don't know if I want that yet.
You haven't seen Wednesday yet?
I haven't. I've been reluctant here lately to watch, like, you know, Dean's show and that, or Jensen's show and that kind of thing. I hate for it to be bad. And then, you know, you're kind of stuck with it.
Didn't
And
Jensen's show
I
get
think
canceled?
with Wednesday, it
Jared
kinda-
says.
it kind of hit a popularity that it's like, no, I don't, you know, I don't want to see that. Not that I'm
Actually-
gatekeeping, because I never even went through the gates.
Right.
Actually, I think it's both of them.
Yeah, I thought I saw something that said the Winchesters was over.
Winchester's been, yeah, but I think Walker's
Done that
hasn't
too.
been picked up. Yeah.
I think Walker was, but not a spinoff that they did. But yeah, Winchester, they're shopping around. And, oh my God.
Here we go.
Okay, here it goes.
Good night, folks.
That's the part we're all waiting for.
I've kind of been watching the talk on a couple of, you know, fan sites and that kind of thing. And one girl just like totally went off. It's like a Jensen fan club or something like that. Totally went off on the guy because they were like, you had a platform and you never supported it. You just broke the show down. Okay, you know, whatever. One platform is not going to make or break a show. But after reading some of the comments, it's kind of like I'm glad I didn't watch that because I absolutely would have hated it. The parts that I did watch, it completely broke canon. And I've been a fan of Supernatural for 16 years. That canon is totally laid down for me. I've known it inside and out for 16 years. So to have a show come along and then break all of that, no. But they said that, spoiler alert, on the last like couple of episodes, they find out that the reason why John's a hunter, which I thought was bullshit from the very beginning, is because this is an alternate universe. What? What kind of lazy, lame-ass writing is that?
Hey.
You know?
Both DC and Marvel do it all the time.
I was about to say, you obviously don't read superhero comics if you're going to
Right.
talk about
But
breaking
do we not
canon.
bitch when they do? It's just,
But it
and you
happens.
I didn't want to watch it, not only because I didn't think it would be that good, but I also, unpopular opinion, I didn't like John and Mary. I thought that John did his boys wrong. He was a bad father. He left them in motels for weeks at a time. And then when his mother comes back, she can't even stand to be around him because it's too confusing for her. And she runs off again and fights the same damn monsters on a different team. So it's kind of like I've never been team John or Mary. They were bad parents. Plain and simple. They were bad parents. So now I want to watch a TV show about them?
No, you
No.
never did, and you basically said that whenever all of this started. And we
Yep.
Yeah.
believed you then, and you didn't watch it, and
Yeah.
that's fine. It's cool.
So it was like,
It wasn't what
but
you wanted to see, and you knew that, and
to
you stayed
throw
away,
in an
and that's good.
alternate universe was just, to me, was lame. I'm sad that Jensen has his name tied to that. And apparently he's shopping it around to other networks, so.
Well, the next time you throw a brick through his window, you can put on the note that you're unhappy with
Yeah.
the way that show went.
I didn't like that choice you made. Which, hey, it's a new thing. They've got this new production company. It was something him and his wife worked on. Oh, but I'm over it. Let's do something else.
Do something that's not attached to that, please, this time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
go get a real job. No offense,
And
but
he's kicked ass outside of that. Outside of being Dean,
literally.
The boys, they said that season was the highest watch season that they had, and that's the reason he's coming back for season 4. So he's got the name. He just needs good work behind it now.
Yep. Need to make better choices.
Yes, he needs me as his manager.
Obviously. And I'm sure it will say that on the restraining order at some point.
Yeah, right. That his wife will put out against me.
All right, claiming to be his manager.
She's delusional.
The hell, we can tell him that. Gee, come on.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I've read some of these fan comments, and it's like, I'm pretty tame.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah,
Yours
we'll
is-
go with that.
Yeah.
Yours is all in good fun.
Right. Yeah.
Some of those, not so much.
And I'm married and happy and not putting my life on hold for a guy who doesn't even know I exist.
Right.
I'm better than 80% of that fandom. No offense.
All joking aside.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right. Yeah. No offense. I'm in those clubs with you. Yeah, I guess that was actually 2 news things, but yes, Winchester's has been canceled. It is being shopped around. He has reached out to his fan base, which is an army, and asking them for help. So I'm sure it'll get picked up somewhere. Where, I don't know. I'm surprised HBO didn't step up and take it.
I'm not sure it will get picked up somewhere, but anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I when I found out about the story, it was like, I would have been mad if I would have waited weeks and watched that.
Yeah. Yes, you would have.
Okay. Yep.
Netflix has nothing going, so
That's kind of who I think will wind up doing it. That's kind of like the Home for Dead shows.
oh,
I didn't mean it like that, but
Yeah, you
look how
did.
many shows they've picked up, and
yeah, but show titles have no context, so it's all good.
But Beetlejuice 2 will be in
Beetlejuice 2.
theaters September 6th, 2004.
Wow.
So we got a little while.
We're going back
Yeah.
in time for this one. Maybe 2024.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I said 2004, didn't I?
Uh-huh. The spare parts for the time machine
Yeah.
are on back order.
I can't math today.
Frank Scott, Marty.
Well, hey, apparently all I had to do is borrow one from the Winchesters,
get the DeLorean ready.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, for my news article, this is actually a couple days old, but I thought it was we're starting to see. We're starting this to have some proof now. Apparently, in the first quarter of 2023, 2.3 million customers cut the cable.
Ooh.
Huh.
What is being called the worst subscriber loss to date. Quote, with the first quarter decline, total pay TV penetration of occupied U.S. households dropped to 58.5%, its lowest point since 1992.
Dang.
2 years before DirecTV launched. So 31 years ago.
Wow.
And the expert that we're talking to here saying we are watching the sun begin to set. And well, I mean, we've been kind of talking about that with all the different streaming services, and then just some people just not even wanting TV cable because Mike, you don't have cable, and I'm about to get rid of my cable here in the not too distant future because I don't watch TV. Anything I watch, it's going to be something streamed or whatever. So it's gonna get worse. Comcast dropped 614,000 customers in the first quarter.
Ouch. This is national.
This is United States.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem like a lot.
I'll probably be one of those ones that they kick me off the service because I'm the last holdout.
Yeah,
I like having the option of turning something on and not having to pick what I know that sounds weird because you still have to decide, what you're going to watch, but you don't have to decide it down to episode and this and da-da-da-da-da. You can just turn it on and it's on, But 90% of the time that my TV's on, I'm not watching what's on. I'm using it for
You're streaming.
background. Yeah,
Oh, you mean you're not paying attention?
I'm not paying attention to it. I kind of, I know it sounds weird, but it helps keep me focused to have something in the background that I'm not really paying attention to, or I don't know. It's weird, but yeah.
You're not alone.
Yeah. I just, it's something comforting of, especially when you're home alone, of having something in that background where you're not hearing the dogs walk across the floor, or, the house settle. It's SpongeBob and he's laughing, Or if it's something I do want to watch, it's something stupid like SpongeBob or Looney Tunes where you can tune in for a few seconds and, it's not something you have to think about. You can watch, I know what's going on, and I can tune out again just as easy. But I like that, During the day, the baby's got shows that we watch on TV, and I know the time schedule and the routine of, okay, now we go over here and watch Bluey, and, It's nice not having to go flip through 80 different things with a 4-year-old trying to figure out that at 10 o'clock you're watching Bluey. Whatever they decide episode, that's what you're watching. So you still have a choice, but they're making a choice for you. That's what I like.
According to this, an analyst for Moffett and Nathanson argued that the pay TV floor is between 50 million and 60 million U.S. homes. But in the latest report, it states, quote, as things stand, we expect cord cutting to grow even worse and the long theorized floor to be breached.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to some people it makes sense, though. You go and get a new cell phone, and they're like, "Oh, we'll give you Disney Plus for 3 months now," or some people get Netflix for free with like T-Mobile, you know. So I could see it being cost effective.
Well,
If I'm going to stream it, why am I going to pay for it?
and in all honesty, don't take this the wrong way, but most of the general public is the opposite of you, and they want to choose exactly what they're going to watch.
Yeah.
You have reasons for not doing that, and that's cool. Not the least of which is crippling ADD, but
Right.
not everybody has that, and so they want to choose what they're watching at all times. And I mean, honestly, what they're going to do is they're going to sit there and watch them in order anyway.
Yeah.
But they're going to choose where to start and where to stop and all of that stuff. And you can't do that with cable.
Yeah.
You've never been able to do that. And to an extent, it's like a kid with a new toy at Christmas. They can watch whatever they want. Well, hell yeah, we want to do that. So there's a big overswing towards that. But it's still there, and people are going to like it, honestly, and want to keep doing it.
Yeah. No, when I do use my streaming services, I binge, you know.
Mm-hmm. Same as other people.
Yeah.
I almost said normal people, but that wouldn't be nice.
Right.
Who are you attacking
Sometimes
with that
I
comment?
do know what I want to watch.
Right. I never attack anybody with my comments. I just sort of throw them out there and let whoever chooses to be offended by them go nuts.
The shoe fits.
Usually Liz chooses not to be offended by my snarky comments, so it's cool.
You've met my husband, right?
Uh-huh.
I'd be pissed off all the time.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Phil.
Love you.
Yeah, imagine how she'd treat you if she didn't.
Holy crap.
War of the Roses.
Oh, man. Yeah, we haven't seen that in a long time.
Right.
All righty. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
Not other than, hi, Phil.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Phil.
Yo, Phil.
I think he's hello.
Hello.
He's half asleep over there.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
We were just saying what a cool guy you are.
Yep.
We up for that? All right, we'll go on to our regular shout-outs. To thank Pop Ghost Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be a part of a great group of fellow podcasts. Check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who make up Podern Family on Twitter, who've been so kind enough as to spread the word of the fellowship by retweeting our links. The best way to check them out, excuse me, is to go to Twitter and do a search, #PodernFamily, all one word. Just scroll through, and whatever catches your eye, click on that link and download that episode. We hope you have a great time listening to them. Thank you guys, as always. I want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying music to the podcast. In our show notes, you will find where you can hear some more of their wonderful music. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any comments, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. Email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net is our email address, or you can go to the website, go to the About Us. There's a contact form you can fill out there. If you join our Discord, we do have a section for feedback where you can post your comments there. On social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. On Twitter, Instagram, and Hive Social, we are at Fellowship Geeks. If you want to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_Geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you be so kind as to rate and review our show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thank you for listening, everybody. We do appreciate your support. Until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email at thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,